just heard episode 5 back.
Yeah, we're back again.
Oh my God, let's not start singing Backstreet Boys. Welcome everyone. We have some poppin' topics today, I think.
Oh yeah, we do. We got some drama in the book community. Community drama has been unleashed.
One that's actually uniting the book community. So it's actually good. It's bad, good. We're
united bad, good. In our rage, people. We are once again united in the fact that we are pissed the bleep off.
Right. So, welcome everybody. Oh wow. So our 2 topics today. So for part 1, we're going to talk about the Million Lives book event, book convention, whatever, or as actually
it was
has
a bookish thingy. That sucked.
Actually, I've heard the new name for it. Do you want to hear the new name, Crystal?
I think I've heard it, but tell the people.
It's a Million Lies book event.
Oh, I like that one.
It's what people were calling it because there was a lot of traumatized, upset people, and I will say some of this is alleged just because let's not get ourselves into hot water, but there's a lot of accounts.
Not physically there. We cannot. Right. We have to say some things were alleged.
Neither of us went, but first, can I just say, for any of the new authors who might hear this who went, I am so sorry. I am so sorry that you guys had to spend money. You had to put all this work, and especially when it sounds like you guys were told a lot of one thing and a lot of it did not happen, and you had to put out so much money and effort and time. And one of the things I learned from Crazy Parent was the most valuable thing in your life is your time.
Yeah,
and
because I will say this, as authors in general, one of the key places we make money is at massive events like the event we're talking about was supposed to do. But we know that it's really rough, especially if you're a new author, when you go to an event that's basically a scam.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I don't want to be hasty in saying this was a scam. I think there was a lot of communication. We'll say at the very least, there was a lot of communication issues. And I think and by the way, a lot of narrators went too, because there was, there's some pictures.
Well, where it's authors, you will find narrators.
Yeah. So there was some pictures that kind of took the event away, but let's set it up. So this event was the 2nd and 3rd of May. And what it was like put out, by the way, there wasn't a lot of advertisement from what I'm hearing, because I saw a lot of readers from Baltimore who were basically saying, hey, like we would have gone to this if we'd known about it. We didn't know about it. So this was advertised, 1 Million Lives. It was going to have a ball. There was a signing event. There were panels. It was going to be a whole shindig. So a lot of people signed up for it. And we know several people in our community, Zach and Hel, who are 2 awesome narrators, Carmen, who's an awesome narrator, F.E. Zell, who's a wonderful author, Callista Neath, Brandy, who's an awesome BookTok, just influencer, reader, reviewer. The girl does fucking everything. There's a lot of people we knew who went to this.
Yeah, and I feel we know and talk to frequently, and we were shocked that this happened to them.
Yes, I feel so. I was like, I left love for KT. I was like, oh my God, I hope you're okay. I literally was on all these like TikTok, man. Half my morning was TikTok and Instagram and Threads, because I was like, what happened? What? Because the accounts, I mean, I kid you not, Crystal, people look traumatized. There were people looking exhausted.
I've been traumatized too if I spent that kind of money. Damn.
Right? Okay. So anyways, so there was this event, May 2nd and 3rd. It was held by the Archer Fantasy Entertainment. And this is a relatively new group. Supposedly they might have held an event before this. Something where they held an event. What I'm reading here is that they held an event under a different name, and that's how people heard about this, maybe. But regardless, this was kind of their first major event, I guess. And so they invited a lot of key people to come and be like authorized authors or the notable authors, like people who were basically getting a free ticket because they were big time authors. So you had like Callista Neath, you had Brandy, who's again Brandy BRB. If you know her on TikTok, she's a huge BookTok reviewer person. She has a lot of shit. One of my favorite people, really. And so these were 2 of the big names, right? There were a lot of people who were going, and I going to say right now, I didn't really see it advertised. And I like to think, I'm not saying I'm up on everything, but when it comes to a convention, trust and believe, I usually hear something about something, whether it's the Polycon, which is coming up, you have Sinners in the West, Sinners in the East, you have the Lincoln City, that's the Pacific event that I like. So you have a lot of different events that I hear about, and I heard nothing about this million live book.
Surprised I didn't hear about it either. And usually if I don't hear about it, you're harassing me about it because we're planning our event stuff for next year.
Yeah. And what was interesting, so just to put this out there, the BCC, which is the convention center they held this at, this place has a ballroom. And I want to say this is what I found a little misleading to start off with. So I saw a lot of videos, right? There's a shit ton of videos coming out. One of the videos I saw, because I went and I checked out the Archer Fantasy Entertainment, and they had a video of the BCC, kind of like they had their little promo ad for their thing. And then they had pictures of, and it looked like one of the pictures was the ballroom of where they were going to hold the event. It had like, oh, here's the intro, here's this, here's the hall, blah, blah, blah. And here's where we're going to have this. And so they're showing this awesome purple ballroom. They're showing this, they're showing that. It was very misleading compared to the pictures. I mean, I feel like I want to do a comparison. Like, man, if the camera were on, I would just be holding up two pictures. Like, here's the advertisement picture, and here's what people really got. And I think there were several descriptions of what happened, but basically the event was held, right? A lot of what I heard was, so we had our experienced people who were there, right? And then we had a lot of new authors. And supposedly there was a Discord for this, but people were trying to get information, trying to, like, for example, authors were asking, like, how many books do we bring? Because we're coming to this, like, we need to know. And some authors were like, yeah, we were never even told that information. And something about how it was, like, secretive. I don't know. And I'm like,
why would you keep things at a book event secretive? Right? How are you going to go buy books at a book event if everything is secretive? Of course, it was secretive from readers, so.
Right. So supposedly they were like, nobody knew how many tickets that had been bought. So supposedly somebody was saying 500, somebody said 600. I believe there was even like an 800 quoted. So there were authors who brought 200, 300 books with them because they're like, okay, there's probably going to be a lot of us authors. So I'll at least sell like 100, right? So and here's the thing, for those of you who do not know this, and if you've never heard this before, let me be the first to tell you, to get your books for an event, you have to pay for them. This shit is not free. You can't get free copies of your own books. Amazon don't play that way.
Yeah, don't believe that we are all with a publishing house and the publishing house just magically gives us. No, we have to come out of pocket for this thing. And not all of us have a publisher. Yeah,
so people had to put money in to pay for transportation, to pay for hotel, to pay for buying 100 of your books. For example, my second book that I came out with, Misery Loves Comedy. For me to order one author copy, it is $4 for me to pay for. Now, yes, it's very discounted because I'm the author. So for some reason, I shouldn't get it for free. And let me tell you, when we have our Amazon episode, I'll be talking about that bullshit, okay?
We have things to say about Amazon.
we got some shit to say about Amazon, but
off of that, that's a rager for another day.
Yeah, that's a rager for another day. Also, that'll just become our whole tagline, a rager for another day. So to do this, so let me set this up. If I were going to go to this event, I would, to order 100 books, right? To order 100 of, say, the second copy of my second book, I would have to buy, so $4, right? That's $400 for just 100 books. So I'm putting it, I was like, okay, there's 500 tickets, but I don't know how much I'm going to sell. So I'm going to bring 100 books. That's $400 right off the bat for me. That does not include the transportation. That does not include Ubers. That doesn't include food. That doesn't include the hotel.
Shipping up book.
Exactly. That doesn't include, well, most people were like, I think, driving it down there and shit too.
Yeah,
so that doesn't include, that's true. That doesn't include air flight.
Luck if they flew Frontier.
Right. And so also, to get your book sent down there, so first you have to pay for the copies, hope they get there on time, and then you have to box them up. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So I know one author, for example, who put in something to the effect of $3,000. And this poor woman, by the way, she had a broken leg. Her and her husband were in a car accident shortly before this. But you know, us authors are tough it out. Yeah, and so she had like a fracture, I guess. So she had a leg in a cast, and mind you, her account was pretty harrowing. I felt so bad. She was discussing the fact that she had to, there was no accommodations for wheelchairs or somebody who
Oh
has
my.
mobility issues. There weren't any real accommodations for that. And they had some of the events, like the panels and the signing, spaced out. And so people had to kind of wander around to find stuff, because as you walk into this event, usually for an event, you have signs up, you have this, like you have stuff saying here, go here, or do this. They didn't have any of that, Crystal.
Oh,
They
great.
didn't have, yeah, they didn't have any signage up. They did have tables. That's great. They had tables and chairs. They did have, it looked like
They
they had
didn't
a big
have
enough
enough
space.
chairs.
They did. Okay, but we'll get to that. So
Yeah, I
for
just wanted
the
to
for the
bring that up
signings,
now because that's going to aggravate y'all later.
yeah, pay attention to, they had chairs for the signings, but there was and this was one of the saddest pictures. This honestly broke my heart, especially because Carmen was the moderator. Carmen is a
Oh,
wonderful narrator in our community who is awesome. She's actually, I
yeah.
have her roped in for my second book as
Yeah, you
common.
roped her in.
I
I'm
did. I
planning to
wrote
rope
it.
her into an audio
Hey,
book in the
hey,
future, but
I have
that's
a
my
narrator
problem.
addiction, and I'm not afraid to brag about it, Crystal. Okay. So,
Where do you think I get my narrators from? If you didn't catch them all, I wouldn't have anybody.
well, I'm just saying, I put them in my hat. Anyways, we'll get back to the basement of narrators later. So, so Carmen, who is a fucking sweetheart, let me say this.
Yeah.
She actually messaged the event people to say, "Hey, I'll help with your narrator event." And so she was one of the moderators for it. This poor woman, when I tell you, I saw a video of her. These people were sitting on the ground, and she felt so bad that she was apologizing. And I was like, "Carmen, why are you apologizing? You didn't do this. You
Exactly,
did not
because
do
I will
this."
say this about Carmen. If she actually had been in charge of saying, we wouldn't be having this conversation because Carmen is
Oh, hell no.
very, very professional. She narrated part of my book for free, and because she didn't like the original narration she sent me, she went back and asked me if she could re-record it because she has a very professional way of doing things.
Yeah, so basically, here's poor Carmen trying to take responsibility for a lack of chairs in the narrator panel. And then you have the signing event, which, from what I'm told, from what I see from a lot of different videos, is that basically, supposedly, they were supposed to have assigned tables. And people walked into this room for the signing, authors walked into this room. By the way, they were trying to find their stuff at the warehouse part where stuff had come in. Nobody knew where their stuff was. They had to kind of just free for all to find their own stuff. And then when they finally get into the room itself, they're supposed to have assigned tables. Well, evidently the night before, somebody had well, I'm assuming this events coordinator who does not know how to plan events.
Well, clearly, because
had
assigning the
changed,
tables like one of the first things you do.
right? Had evidently changed the tables for a lot of people. So they were told, this is one of the things that came up, is that there were some pregnant authors who were attending, Percy J. There were several other authors, a few of them who were pregnant. And so they requested that they have tables obviously near the bathroom because, boy, if you're pregnant, been there, done that. If you're pregnant, you need a bathroom every 10 minutes. Like, you're there, you're practically living, especially first or second term, you're living in that bathroom. So, like, they requested tables near the bathrooms. So I'm hearing from a lot of these videos is they did not have that because the tables got changed up at the last minute. So, like, the pregnant people who had requested these tables did not get those tables. A lot of people who had, and by the way, the assigned tables, which should have had numbers or letters or fucking something on them, had nothing, Crystal. They had no tags on them.
They didn't even have a name tag, did they?
They didn't even, they didn't have numbers. Somebody was like, they could have put a pop-up card with, like, they could have just taped a paper with 1 or 2, but they didn't. They had nothing. So that happened. And then let me just read you. This was interesting. So there were there were supposed to be swag bags, right? So one of the things that got talked about, and this was by, I don't know if this was Kalista or somebody else. There were several people talking about a lot of things. So I was writing shit down all day today. What was written down is they were supposed to pay for so there were ticket prices, right? So it was $150 for, there was a free part as an author where you could sign up and have, like, well, it was 100, I want to say it was 150 for the table. And
I believe
then I heard a separate price for the ball, which we will talk about the ball. We will talk about
ball
it.
is the last thing we talk about
Yes,
because that's
yeah,
when we're
yeah.
going to get really annoyed for y'all.
So
Let's
that
get
was
to our current irritating thing.
Yeah, so that was $250 for the ball, and I believe that was part of the VIP thing. So it was $150 for author tables, $250 for this VIP thing, and so Percy J, for example, was talking about how she paid the $250, she's putting money down, and it was supposed to include logos and stickers, and you have swag, and your name was going to be put on a bunch of stuff for the event. Like they were supposed to have tote bags with the event on it, with these authors' names who had paid this extra money. And do you think there were tote bags, Crystal?
I do not believe there were.
No. There were no swag bags. There were no.
Darn you! You know you got to give them the swag. What's the point of paying extra if you don't get some swag?
And some of these authors brought swag with them because it was basically implied that if you bring stuff for like, I think it was like the $100 level, they were going to put the swag they brought into the swag bag. And so there were discussions about how like books and snacks and swag bags were lost. Something about that. Hold on. There were a lot of different things that supposedly were not dealt with. There was some discussion in one of the posts, and I don't know if this was Percy J or somebody else. Oh, I think it was Percy J, I believe, because she was going to be staying with Caliste Denise because so some of these influencers who got invited and some of these author influencers, they're high up, they have a lot of sales, they're doing great in their careers. And they were invited and they were told they would get this Hilton hotel room paid for. Okay.
Sounds fancy. It sounds fancy. I'm getting the feeling
it's too good
to be true because it sounds nice and fancy.
It's like I'm laughing about it, but I'm truly not laughing about it because it's just so ridiculous to me. So they promised these people Hilton hotel rooms, and then I want to say a week before they're supposed to go down there in Baltimore, right? They get this call that the Hilton supposedly is not returning their phone calls, and so they have to book everybody at the Days Inn across the street.
You go from Hilton to Days Inn. That is truly a sad day.
It was just like, what? But how? Like, here's the thing. If you're looking at this stuff, so you're looking like setup of chairs and tables and, Hilton hotel rooms and swag bags and tote bags and all this stuff, like in theory, shouldn't you have this locked down months before? Snacks, food, like shouldn't this stuff be locked down?
Like, I'm bringing this up because we're going to a author con next year in Tennessee, but the person hosting it right now, she's even trying to see, okay, how do I get the hotel deals? Because she wants to tell us as early as possible so we can get it locked down, even if most likely months ahead of time, and we're not like, well, where do we sleep? That's what most event people do when they're coordinating an event.
Yeah, they're trying to get, like, even her trying to get deals for her event in conjunction with her event, she's asking questions. And it feels like, because a lot of the things being said is like, oh, I got contacted, like Carmen. Carmen didn't get contacted until a week before or a couple days before to be the moderator of the event. So,
which
like,
is
it
odd.
sounds
You
like
always get your moderator way ahead of time. That's like one of the first things you do.
All right. So, like, you're supposed to lock this stuff down. People were not being told things because, and it's what it feels like to me when I'm hearing all these stories from these poor authors is that, like, nobody planned this out. Nobody, I mean, you don't even have the signage up to direct people where to go. You don't have chairs for your narrator, like, panel. Like, what are you doing?
How do you not have chairs for a panel? You want your panelists to just stand up the whole time? That's not nice.
Right. And then, let's look at some of the class acts of this was like Calista and Brandy and a lot of the authors who are established in our community because they felt so bad for the baby authors that, let me tell you, Calista was on top of it. Like within a few hours of this whole crap load of stuff going down, she was talking to the event thing saying, you need to give refunds. You need to be on top of it. So we did get, and we haven't even gotten to the ball yet. We will, don't worry.
We will get to the ball. Unlike Cinderella, we will get to the ball on time in a minute.
Oh man, I don't even think Cinderella would have sent the mice to this ball because damn.
Yeah, that's true. She probably wouldn't. Of course, she didn't even leave the ball on time, but we'll get to balls later in here.
We will. So, in this, so Kalista was on top of that. So Kalista and a few others were like talking to the event person who was there, this Archer fantasy event chick, and she did. I will give 5 minutes of credit. So some people. So I don't know if anybody, if you don't remember the Readers Take Denver thing that happened a few years ago, I can do a refresh for that on a different day. But basically, that was an event that went terrible. It was hosted by an author and her husband. That was a scam for sure. They built people for a solid $1 million and didn't put any of it into the event, really.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, so that one was a pretty much a solidly a scam, and it takes a lot to get to that level. So I don't want to say that this was a scam, because I will say that the Archer Fantasy Entertainment, they did come out with an apology on TikTok pretty quickly. It was like a 5-second video basically saying, we're really sorry, we apologize for what was the event. Well, they apologized for the ball. And again, that will come right after I say this, okay? They apologized it really only sounds like for the ball that wasn't up to their standards, quotation mark. And they did offer refunds because it was $250 for this ball, I guess on top of other stuff. I'm not for sure on that. But the figure being quoted is $250. So well, as we get, because only the part ones of the videos are out. By the time we get part 2 and 3, we may do a quick, on our next episode, we may do a quick, hey, here's a update on this, just to kind of update you guys.
If we get more details, we will.
Yeah. So as it happens, she gave a brief apology, said that they would be giving out refunds. She did say that. And she did say that they would be, that she was very sorry. There would be refunds. She didn't really say a whole lot else. There were some replies in the comments.
That will cover the entire cost.
Yeah. So there were some comments. There was a lot of the comments are wild in this. I think some of my favorite comments. Let me just
let's read some comments.
People were going off. Hold on.
I too, if I spent that kind of money, because the amount of books, paying for transportation, and everything, a lot of people spent like $3,000 or $2,000 or more, and that is a lot of money. And a lot of these people put time off from their jobs because they expected to make some money at this event. Yeah. And a lot of authors, their bread and butter for their books, like I mentioned earlier, I believe, is at events. It's one of the best places to sell and grow your audience.
Well, and here were the numbers part, right? The numbers were supposedly there was like 300 to 500 tickets confirmed. Supposedly that was a rumor in the Discord. Who ended up showing up was, I was told that it might have been 80 readers total that showed up.
That's what I heard.
For the amount of authors, there was at least, how many authors? There was at least 50
about
authors.
100 something.
Yeah, 50 to 100. There was a lot of people, narrators, authors. But let me read you some of the comments, okay? So in this apology video, somebody was like, it was more than just Lavender Ball, it was the whole event. The fact that we had to sit on the floor for a panel interview is unacceptable. And the Archer Fantasy was like, I do apologize. There were supposed to be chairs in that room.
Yeah, you didn't order the chairs.
There were supposed to be chairs. Oh my, it's just wow. Chairs. And then, so somebody said you were notified before we even started the panel and had over 50 minutes to correct it. Had the chairs showed up at any point, it would have been better than nothing at all. Another comment was, so this was, let's talk about the ball. Let's talk about the ball, Crystal.
Let's talk about the lavender ball.
The lavender ball. Okay, so there was supposed to be this luxurious lavender ball. And before we get into the decor and Steve, we're going to introduce you to Steve too. Let me say first, the people who went looked fucking gorgeous. These people bought some fucking awesome outfits. They looked gorgeous and beautiful and wonderful. And I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, because I want to say this. I want to say this about balls at bookish events. Okay, when people have the lavender balls like they were supposed to have, and balls after a book event or make it a part of the event, that's usually, the final moment. You get to unwind, have some fun because you've been selling and doing business throughout the convention, and you're supposed to also use it as a great time to make connections, get to know people, all of that.
Yeah.
And I just feel bad, people like Mia would say, got dressed up, got, some really, really nice outfits. And did they get what they were promised for the ball?
Oh, no. I'm just going to say some comments. I'm going to say some comments and then you can just draw the picture, my dears. So somebody said it wasn't set up at all. There were $6 store flower petals on gray tables. y'all even kept the big light on for a fantasy ball. That was one of the comments. Somebody
Well, those
also
flower
said in a
petals are
different
haunting people.
video.
It's like the sixth or seventh time I heard about it since we've been researching this.
I know. And then somebody said it was like going to a gymnasium with like like just in a gymnasium where you have like the chairs, like for the planning stages of a ball. And I was like, it felt like a 1960s gymnasium because it was a concrete floor, Crystal. They did nothing. It was this huge, so it's this basement space, right? And so, by the way, I got it confirmed. This BCC actually has a ballroom, by the way. They do. They have a lovely one, which I noticed. I'm pretty sure that's what the Archer Fantasy Entertainment used in their original video, was a picture of that ballroom. And did they have that ballroom? No, ma'am. No, they did not. They had the bottom expedition showroom on the basement floor with a concrete floor. And they had no decorations.
I want the ballroom.
They had no decorations. And Steve, do you want to know who Steve is, Crystal?
I think I know. Wasn't he the guy who was showing off the outfits and stuff? I'm trying to remember.
No. So Steve was the Bluetooth speaker that one of the security guards, I mean, at least they had security guards, and I don't know if that was the hotel or them. And the security guard felt so bad because there was no DJ. There was no music. So a security guard brought in a speaker so that they could play music on it.
Oh, man, that's sad.
The speaker was named Steve. That was Steve, their DJ.
Thank you, Steve, in this moment of hardship for doing some heavy lifting. Thanks for looking out, but oh my goodness, that's sad.
Oh my God. It was just wild. And the pictures, oh my God, Crystal. Those pictures, the videos, the pictures would have broken my heart. Like if I had, I feel so bad because you have these gorgeous,
money and I would be crying in every photo.
Right. You have these gorgeous people who are decked out to the nines. They are because fantasy balls, like a lot of the fantasy balls that we authors and readers and all of us see are like decked out to the nines. So you have to go looking fucking on point. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
You can't go looking shabby.
Who's who event.
Exactly. These poor people like fucking outshined this room. It was like a big ass light. It was some gray tables with some flower petals on it. And there was nothing else. They didn't even turn off the big light. They had it blaring down for a fantasy ball. I mean, half the comments were like, I saw a video of the event and I want a refund too.
I want a refund just from hearing about this.
These poor people, and when I think of poor KT and poor Carmen and Kalista and Brandy and all these people,
all of our poor friends and everybody else,
my heart breaks for them. Zach, Hell. This was Zach and Hell's first fucking event.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. And half these people, by the way, a lot of what I heard was they ended up going to the ball and then leaving early because, no music, and you're in a basement.
Steve can only do so much.
If I would have left. I'm sorry. I've seen enough horror movies. I've been forced to watch enough horror movies. I know what happens next. The serial killer comes out in the corner, right? That's what happens.
Usually that's why I just wouldn't go.
Mm-hmm. And so that was the ball, people. That was the lavender ball. I mean, oh my God. But here we get to, so evidently some of the people had to, and by the way, there were some very nice people who tried to be I want to say there are some beautiful people in our community, Crystal, because there were some people who were they're like, we don't comment on drama. We try not to talk about stuff, but we really have to say this was not done well. And a few of them were so sweet. They were trying to be like, who was it? One person, Chris K. Haynes, was very sweet. She was trying to say, you know what? I don't think they were malicious. I think it was just badly planned, but I don't know about that. And here's why I say this, because there were a lot of people who were told a lot of things before this, okay? There was people who were told there would be at least 300 to 500 attendees. There were people who were told there would be swag bags. There were people who were told there would be bathrooms that pregnant people would be next to. People were told there would be sign, people were told a lot of things that did not happen. And an interesting thing happened there's a Four Seasons bookstore that evidently is in this area. And they evidently, their name was used by the Archer Fantasy Entertainment people for the Million Lives Book Festival because they were approached by the event organizer to serve as an indie bookstore partner. They ended up declining it because they reviewed the logistics and probably in the background were like, this looks like shit. We don't want to do it. So, but we'll be nice. They declined it. And the organizer in fact, the organizer told them they had sold 500 tickets and we're expecting between 600 and 800 people. Okay. And so when you think about what authors were told and all this kind of thing. And then this bookstore said, a separate conversation took place between our team and the organizer in February. And they told them, we're declining, we're not participating. And then they learned after this event that their name was used in communication with authors and attendees and that they were partners. And so this bookstore, because a lot of people started commenting to this bookstore, like, hey, you were a partner and this is wow, right?
That's aggravating because it's like saying they were involved and they were not involved, and that makes them look bad.
Yeah, exactly. And so then there's some other commentary after the fact so somebody was saying they have $1,000 in books and merch that they have to store because they were directly lied to. They were directly lied to by the organizer. And a lot of people are saying that.
So I don't want to irresponsible and not nice.
Yeah. I don't want to say it was a scam yet, but what I will say is this person, if they weren't just lying through their teeth about everything, they did not know what they were doing. And it sounds like I was talking about this with another author friend, Christina, who's also a narrator. We were chit-chatting with Sloan, who's another author, about this. And we were talking about how, the Hilton supposedly not getting back to them for 2 weeks, all this kind of commentary, because it sounds like they were basically blaming it on a lot of different, like the organizer, after being talked to, was kind of blaming it on everybody but themselves. Not in the apology. They did apologize for the ball, but they blamed a lot of the shit on other people. And how are you going to do,
if you're the one handling an event, as you know, you're the one where everything is on you. Because I am going to bring up Lindsay because she recently, had her book event and she's planning her next one. So I want to bring this up.
Yeah.
When Lindsay, owner of the Spine Bookshop, which you can get my book at, and soon will feature Mia's books. Anyway, Lindsay, owner of Spine Bookshop, when she was planning her event, she constantly was telling us when she was getting everything together that all of this at the end of the day, is on me. She kept saying it's on me because I am the event organizer. I have to make sure all the ducks are in the row because this is on me. She said that repeatedly because she knew this was her event. And this event organizer, took responsibility for the ball, but then everything else was everybody else's fault. And my thing is no, you are the event organizer. When you plan an event and you are the person supposed to be planning it, it is on you. You have to make sure everything is organized.
Yeah. And you have to have contingency plans for if it's not. But we have some more evidence about this. So one of the authors who is which again, I don't blame any of these authors for being upset, traumatized, whatever. Yeah. And again, for any of the new authors who went, there are actual events that are put together that are done fantastically well. So please do not judge the events by this. I'm so sorry you had to deal with this. Please don't. And please know.
Most of the time, these book events, actually, majority of them, you don't get all of this stuff. Yeah. And usually, I will say, as a community, usually we're able to scope out one that's not going to do well. This time, I feel like this one slipped through the cracks.
Well, I think it was because people, the organizer was still replying to people. And so I feel like people thought, okay, there might be some issues, but maybe it'll just be a few things.
Yeah, that's what I don't think they slipped through the cracks because, she seemed to have been responding to people. And it seemed like, from what I've seen from the advertisement, it seemed like she was supposedly on point. It looked like it was, but either she's just very
there wasn't barely any advertisement.
Didn't have a plan.
Yeah. So here's something. So one of the authors, because she was told, I guess, by the organizer that everything was on the convention center. It was their fault. So she wrote the convention center. And she said, "Hi there. I was an attending author at this event. I wanted to see if you can provide some clarity surrounding the accusations that the BCC lost boxes of books, snacks, and swag bags. It's also circulating that the convention center wouldn't allow the organizer permission to place signings throughout the convention center to help guide attendees to the right rooms that they had, and that their complaint was, the organizer's complaint, was that they had 10 different reps throughout the duration of planning this event, and she didn't even receive final unloading, entering the con information until a couple of days before the event." And so she wrote them, okay? And so here was the reply from Christine St. Michael Bussier, CVP of the BCC. And she said, "Hi, author. I'm so sorry you had this unpleasant experience at your event this weekend. I can tell you that we didn't receive information from the event organizer about missing boxes from the event." She said, "I personally checked in multiple times with show management and heard nothing but positive comments about how things were going. Directional signage is absolutely allowed to be placed throughout public spaces to help guide attendees as long as it's provided for by the event." And she's like, "We provide the easels, but they actually have to give us shit." So basically, translate that, they didn't get anything.
That's what it sounds like.
She's saying, and here's the interesting part. So evidently the organizer was saying we had to talk to 10 different people. It was all a mess. So this person who is in charge of those people said, "I'm pretty sure A Million Lives Book Festival has been assigned the same convention service manager since it was contracted. I would go nuts if I had that much turnover in my department."
That's true. It wouldn't even be able to function when you think about it.
Right. And she said, "Lastly, loading and unloading information is discussed at various points during the planning process, but she was going to check into it." So basically what it sounds like is the convention center was supposed to do some shit and didn't they just lied. They just lied to cover their ass.
That's what it feels like.
So basically, and so she was telling everybody that the BCC screwed up a bunch of stuff. So authors were actually posting that the convention center screwed up some stuff. And then, evidently the person who was helping organize this has a separate account. And they were literally saying in print, the convention center screwed up. And I can only put signs in certain areas because there are other events. But there were signs to find something, but evidently nobody could find it. And then she did claim that she had 6 different reps, and they have all given me different info. So 6 different events, but you've only had one thing.
This is either the world's most amazing convention center because it's still able to be open with all these reps that constantly change, or somebody's telling a fib.
Oh, it sounds like fibbing. And so there was also somebody posted as well that they were trying to give her the benefit of the doubt up until they walked into the ball. And she said she claimed that there was no decorations for the ball because the cleanup crew showed up 15 minutes before and evidently cleaned up the decorations they had put up.
That's the fastest ball cleanup I have ever heard
before it even starts, Crystal.
If we ever throw an event, we need to hire these people because they clean up so damn quick.
Right? It was like, just wow. And then there are people who actually work for the BCC who said, yeah, they're not perfect, but they know what they were doing. They have done this millions of times. And a lot of people were saying that they've been to other events at the BCC and they've never had this kind of problem. So,
like somebody's telling some tales on this convention center.
Right. And so that's why I don't want to say it's a scam. I don't want to say that. But I feel at the very... incompetence. It feels like incompetence. And I was telling Christina, I was like, you know what? Everybody's talking about how they got replies like 1 to 2 weeks beforehand. What if, and here's my conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory. My conspiracy theory on this is that she got all this money for this stuff. She obviously, and convention centers are not, they're not free, okay? They're costly. So what if she was trying to plan all this stuff 2 to 3 weeks beforehand? And here's the thing. If you're trying to do hotel rooms, swag bags, ordering stuff 2 weeks, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I mean, even a month beforehand, you can't get a lot of that shit. A lot of people won't take that order. And
convention centers, much like, it's like when you book your wedding hall if somebody's getting married.
Yeah.
You have to book all of this stuff. You have to book the people who do your decor. You got to order your flowers. You got to do this months and months, sometimes a year or a year and a half ahead of time. because otherwise you're not getting it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like my conspiracy theory is right now that aside from all the lying, because the lying to authors and narrators and all these people who went, and then also to the readers who actually showed up, minus the fact that it was no advertising, you guys are the real MVPs because you showed up and the few dollars that were had, you guys tried to spend it. So all thanks to you for trying.
Thank you, reader people.
Right. But I have a feeling that what it sounds like to me is she thought that the event coordinator thought that, well, not really an event coordinator, the event person who thought she was an event coordinator thought she could plan this a couple weeks in advance and then realized, oh, I can't get anything. And so she got what she got, and no swag bags, no snacks, no nothing. And then the table placements changing the night before. And they didn't even, by the way, when the table placements changed for like the book signings and stuff, they didn't even tell the authors. The authors found out after they got there and people pointed them to various things.
Drama.
Yeah. So this just breaks my heart because especially when you have, the reader takes Denver, like Denver takes readers a few years before, and now you have this, and it's just like, you guys, I understand, and somebody did say it really well of how people like are jumping onto this craze of like, oh, book events and fantasy events, and they want to jump on that and get in the craze, and that's good and everything, but if you're gonna do it, fucking try to do it right. There are always going to be problems, right?
This type of stuff.
Yeah, like everybody knows, you go to a convention, there's going to be a lot of shit behind the scenes. There's going to be a lot of problems. Nothing is ever perfect. That is a guarantee in life. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. That's literally a theory. And so here's the thing. If you're going to do this kind of event, you need to come correct, which is you need to be communicating with your people for months beforehand. You need to have that table set up. You need to have food ordered. You need to have water. If you're going to do a ball, of all things, a ball, then don't give a picture of what it might look like. Actually go through, plan this out.
Think it through, plan it out like really what a person does. Usually everybody we are aware of personally those events, they pick where they're going to have it. Then they start thinking how they're going to advertise. While they're thinking about advertisement, they're going over all of the numbers for how expensive this stuff is and make sure they have the money ready to go at a certain time, book everything while still trying to get more and more word out.
Yeah.
It's just not like you don't do all this stuff like 2 damn weeks beforehand.
And to the Archer of Fantasy people, okay, look, I appreciate that you gave that 5-second apology. I appreciate that you're giving refunds for the ball. But really, you guys need to, and this is what I was saying in my in my Instagram video, and I said it in a TikTok comment too. You guys need to give a longer apology. You need to actually have an apology that fesses up to what's been going on and take responsibility. Don't blame it on the convention center. Don't blame it on others. Just say, hey, I fucked up. Or I didn't mean to, but this is what happened. Stuff happened. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Mia, I will be honest with this. I get what you're saying and where you're coming from with this. But even if they do finally give a longer apology, it's more than likely their reputation with the bookish community has been destroyed.
Oh, it's trash. Oh, no. I mean, and I'm saying the only reason I'm saying the apology part is I feel like the authors and narrators and readers who went, they deserve a better apology. Because a 5-second one saying things went up to our standards, that is not, by the way, that apology, not up to my standards. My standards for this community is that you give an apology that is worth something. I don't care if you have to put water in your eyes to fake it. I want to see some tears. I want to see a sad face. I want to see some actual, like, real, like, we're sorry, we messed up. Like, be heartfelt. Say, you know what, stuff got out of hand. We didn't plan this correctly. We're really sorry. Now, will you be trusted again? No. And they're actually, Crystal, they're supposed to be, they were advertising for an event in 2028. And I'm pretty sure.
Going. Oh, hell no. Now, Mia, we are not going to that.
I'm pretty sure I feel like I can bet my non-existent paycheck on this that we won't be going and nobody else will be going and nobody will trust them.
Well, I better not catch you suggesting we go, and I better not catch any of our friends trying to go, because that's not happening. Put my foot down now.
So it's just like, this was a really sad thing. And I mean, there was one shining kind of thing out of it. A lot of people got to meet each other. A lot of authors who have been talking to each other for months on TikTok and Instagram and who have been friends on the social media world got to meet each other, got to help keep each other going. And the few readers, the golden readers who showed up, you all MVPs, you showed up. Thank goodness for you, because you really you're probably the only good thing that happened to any of those new authors. So,
Yeah.
Thank you for
And it's
showing
very
up.
discouraging when you first get into the writing game, which is what I call
Yeah.
authordom, the writing game,
Yeah.
because it's hard to, one, you're basically alone. I don't care
Yeah.
what many of you have heard through TV. It's not a matter of everybody sending a query letter to a publishing house and just magically
Yeah.
getting published. Even
Yeah.
if you do get a publisher, all of this is fairly difficult.
Yeah.
And if you're indie published like us, it's fairly difficult. And a
Yeah.
lot of times you're alone and surrounded by scammers. Events,
Yeah.
like I said earlier, are usually like one of the best places because you get to meet people who can
Yeah.
give you some ins and outs. Heaven knows, when I was new to this, I learned a lot at my first book event that saved me from losing out on a lot of money from scammers. But
Yeah.
for people to basically lose out on all this money, especially if they're a new author on an event,
Yeah.
it's just a really, really sad thing, because being an author is
Yeah.
rougher than you think, and especially if you're new, because when you're new, you can be misled a lot.
Yeah, well, and it's especially if you're a new author, you don't really have a lot of contacts. You're trying to make it on Instagram, you're trying to make it on TikTok, you're trying to
And
make
the
it on
algorithms work
Threads.
against you.
Yeah, and you're trying to make it on all these things. And it's hard because you have to do your own promotional stuff. You have to do, all the writing. You basically are a one band team, right? You're
Yeah, you got
trying
to
to
do
do
all
everything
the
at once.
audio editing, which takes hours to do.
Yeah. So you have to do the editing, the writing, all this kind of stuff. And even if you fall in with a good group, and sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, it's
Yeah.
not easy. And so thank goodness these older authors were here who have been in the community. We're here to try to help. And let me tell you, we have an awesome BookTok community, because I'll tell you right now, and I've already seen this posted. Atlas Creed, he's a great guy. He actually helped make a writing program for people. He also or he advertises it. I think I'm pretty sure he helped make it too. He actually is making a list on Threads and Instagram and I think he cross-posted to TikTok. He's making a thread of all the authors who attended so we can promote them, because a lot of these people lost out on money. A lot of them lost out on at least $1,000. Okay. These are people who are none of us are rich. And these are people who really can't afford to take a hit. So he is making a list of people who attended and obviously weren't able to sell a whole lot. I know one author said she sold 3 books and 2 of those were to other authors. Another person said they sold 18 books. Again, a lot of those were to authors. So please look out on Threads, look out on Instagram, find Atlas Creed posts. Also, narrators. Our narrators are awesome. Even the ones who were there are trying to help out. So narrators in the community, ones who went and ones who didn't go, they are actually starting a list of all the authors, especially new authors who went and did not get a fair chance because of this event. They are offering you guys free narration for a snippet, a post, to help you sell your stuff. Any of your stock that you have remaining, obviously a lot of you have stock left. They want to sell it out. They are willing to help you. So if you go on Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, Book Lady Mia, and I think Crystal's going to go on there later today or maybe tomorrow and share a bunch of the posts I've shared. You can, if you find me. Oh, yeah. So if you find me on TikTok, I'm authormiahartney. On Instagram, I'm Book Lady Mia. Especially on Instagram, I have shared all of those posts in my stories. So go find them. I will keep sharing them. And if you want to message me, I have copies of all these threads. So I am saving them. So if you want to message me, go ahead and message me. I will direct you to it, especially for you new authors. That way we can get you some help to sell off your stock. And because we all want to help each other, and nobody, we all want to work together. We always want to have a great time together and have a great event. And so thank goodness that everybody had each other to talk to. But at least the people were great.
Yeah,
It's not
the
the
book
event.
community in general, most of the authors and people, we are one of the most supportive communities.
Yeah.
Because we all know we have it rough, so we all try to help each other get ahead.
Yeah. So I'm going to post it. Go ahead and message me on Instagram. If you see me on TikTok, I will direct you. I will find you somebody who will, I'll direct you to Atlas. I'll send you to some narrators. I don't care, just poke me. I will send you around. Because especially if you're a new author, if you were a new author and you were screwed by this, please contact contact me, I will fucking spread your ass around. We will get you out there. We will get you, I can't promise we will get you taken care of, but we can at the very least try to get your name out there in our community so that more readers find you. That's what we want to do for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, is there anything else to be said, Crystal, of this fiasco?
I think we've gotten everything. We got the money thing. We got how the ball sucked. Steve did the best job he could. I mean, he didn't even post in the thing.
Dude, ending comments on this, right? I was telling somebody, I was like, if I'd done this as a Dollar Tree event, let me tell you, I can clean out a Dollar Tree in like 20 minutes. I would have found so much in the Dollar Tree. It would have been the tackiest ball ever, but I would have made that. I would have made a sparkle.
Kind of decoration. That's better than what was it? 9 petals.
6. It was 6.
Oh, dang, that's even worse. You didn't have 9 petals, you had 6 of them.
Oh my God.
These
I promise you, if I ever do
anything,
if I ever do a crappy event from a Dollar Tree, if I ever do a Dollar Tree event, I'll tell you right now, there will be so much glitter at that shit. You will think you walked into Wonderland, but in glitter.
I believe you. You always want to put glitter on everything.
Look, don't hate me because I'm beautiful with glitter.
Hey, I'm not going to pick on you. You glittered my mask and look at it now.
I did glitter it. I was like, it needs glitter. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of As the Pages Turn. This is part 1. This is episode 5, part 1, whatever. I know what I'm talking about.
Episode 5, part 1. You're right.
Right? So part 2 coming up. Oh boy, Crystal.
Yeah, part 2 is a doozy. We got some stuff going on in the book world.
We are going to talk about J.K. Rowling.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
And
I need a beer.
I'm gonna warn you people. I have a trans daughter, so this is going to pop off. This is going to pop off like Donkey Kong. We're gonna say some shit. I'm gonna read some shit, and I preface this by saying I'm gonna read some bullshit she said.
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Don't lie to the people. It's not gonna pop off like Donkey Kong. It's gonna be far worse than that.
I'm not lying. I'm saying I'm gonna pop off like Donkey Kong, and I'm gonna get some.
No, it's gonna be far worse than any Donkey Kong pop off. You probably kicked Donkey Kong's ass.
Look, that would actually be true. Yeah, no. So anyways, you guys, we're going to end this part of the episode here. We will be back very shortly, so stay tuned. And we will talk about Miss J.K. Rowling.
Oh boy, this lady.
Okay, love you guys. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Please give us your comments. And if you're a new author who was at this event, please comment below so I know who you are on YouTube so I can spread you around too. So anyways, you guys, love you guys. Mwah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.